If the goal is to keep food around for a very long time while tasting almost like it did on day one, freeze-drying is the heavyweight champion. If the goal is to make snacks fast without spending a fortune, dehydration is the dependable workhorse. Both methods matter, but they serve different priorities. Here's what matters: how they work, what they do to texture and taste, how long the food lasts, what they cost to run, and when each one makes more sense. Bottom line, this isn't a better or worse debate so much as a what's the job decision. How they work. A freeze dryer runs cold and under vacuum. Food is frozen solid, then the ice inside goes straight to vapor in a process called sublimation. Because the water skips the liquid phase, cells don't collapse, which is why freeze-dried strawberries look like strawberries and spring back nicely when rehydrated. A dehydrator is literal about it. Low, steady heat and airflow push moisture out by evaporation. Think of thin apple slices drying at a gentle temperature for hours until they lose enough water to become shelf-stable. One method is slow and protective. The other is straightforward and fast. Moisture removal. Moisture content is the quiet driver of shelf life. Freeze-drying removes nearly all of it, leaving food crisp, porous, and extremely light. That porosity is what makes rehydration work so well. Water rushes back into those tiny tunnels. Dehydration removes most but not all water, enough to stop microbes and slow enzymes, but not enough for decades-long storage in most home scenarios. The result is drier than fresh, not bone dry like freeze-dried. Shelf life. If long-term storage is the mission, freeze-drying wins by a mile. Properly packaged in oxygen barrier bags with absorbers and kept cool and dark, freeze-dried food can last decades. It's why backpacking meals and emergency provisions lean that way. Dehydrated food lasts months to a year or two depending on what it is, how dry it got, fat content, packaging, and storage temperature. Herbs and many fruits do great for a season or two. Anything fatty like jerky has a shorter clock because fats go rancid regardless of moisture. Texture and appearance. Freeze-dried foods keep their original shape and many visual cues. Peas look like peas, raspberries look like raspberries, and cooked stews rehydrate to something close to the original. Dry, they're crisp and airy. Rehydrated, they're surprisingly familiar. Dehydrated foods change more. They shrink, wrinkle, and toughen because heat collapses structure as water leaves. That's not a flaw if the goal is chewy apple rings, leathery fruit rolls, or jerky. It's a trade that fits the snack. Flavor and nutrition. Low temperature protects heat-sensitive vitamins and volatile aroma compounds. That's freeze-drying's edge. More of the delicate stuff survives. Dehydration condenses flavor in a different way. Less water means flavors get louder, but some bright notes can fade because of the heat. Nutrition follows the same logic. Dehydration retains a lot, but it can lose more heat-sensitive nutrients. Freeze-drying does better on average for vitamins that don't like heat, while proteins, minerals, and fiber largely remain in both. Speed. Dehydrators are the sprinters here. Slice, tray, set temp, and a few to several hours later, the batch is done. Freeze-drying is patient. The machine has to freeze, pull a vacuum, and step through primary and secondary drying stages. Batches can take overnight or longer, especially for high-moisture foods. If the plan is frequent quick batches, dehydration keeps the cadence. Equipment and space. A freeze dryer is a serious appliance with a compressor, vacuum pump, and a chamber that wants dedicated space and good ventilation. It's heavier, louder, and not something to stash in a cabinet between uses. A dehydrator is countertop-friendly. Stackable or shelf-style trays, a modest footprint, and simple controls make it easy to live with. If space is tight, that alone can decide it. Cost and maintenance. Freeze dryers are expensive to buy and to run. The upfront cost is thousands, and the ongoing costs include electricity and periodic pump maintenance. For big gardens, high use or long-term storage goals, the math can still work out. especially compared to buying commercial freeze-dried foods. Dehydrators are affordable, with a broad range from budget to premium models, and they sip power in comparison. Maintenance is mostly cleaning trays and keeping airflow paths clear. Energy use. Energy maps to both power draw and runtime. Freeze dryers pull more power per hour and run much longer cycles. Dehydrators draw less per hour and finish faster. If energy consumption is a top constraint, dehydration is easier to keep in check. If the priority is shelf life and quality, higher energy use may be acceptable for freeze drying. Use cases. Here's where the choice gets easy. Freeze drying shines when preserving full meals, delicate fruits, dairy, or anything that should rehydrate close to original. It's ideal for long storage, camping meals that need to be lightweight, or building a pantry that lasts years. Dehydration is perfect for snack culture and quick preservation. Jerky, fruit chips, leathers, dried herbs, aromatics, and soup mixes. It's also the better choice for projects that reward chew and concentrate. Rehydration behavior. Freeze-dried foods drink water like a sponge and come back fast. Soups, stews, cooked meats, and many fruits regain texture that's remarkably close to fresh. Dehydrated foods do rehydrate, but they rarely return to the same texture. They're better in dishes that simmer long enough to soften them, like stews or where chew is welcome. Food safety considerations. Both methods support safe storage when done correctly. The key is hitting safe final moisture levels, using clean prep, cooling cooked items before processing, and packaging in appropriate containers. Freeze-dried low-acid foods stored with oxygen absorbers should still be kept cool and dry. Dehydrated foods benefit from condition checks, especially for fatty items, and some meats may require pre-treatment or post-dry heat steps depending on guidelines in a given region. Learning curve. Freeze-drying has more variables to manage: load size, arrangement, pre-freeze, cycle length, and post-dry checks to ensure no cold pockets remain. The dehydrator's learning curve is mostly about slice thickness, temperature, and airflow, which is easy to dial in with a couple batches. If experimentation sounds fun, both reward it, but dehydration gets beginners to wins faster. Noise and convenience. A freeze dryer sounds like refrigeration plus vacuum, noticeable over many hours. It also ties up space for a full day per batch. A dehydrator hums along quietly by comparison and is less intrusive. Convenience tilts to dehydration if the kitchen doubles as a living space. Environmental footprint. If minimizing electricity use is central, dehydration typically carries a lighter footprint per pound processed. Freeze-drying's longer cycles and vacuum requirements cost more energy. On the other hand, the ability to store food for decades without waste can offset that in some households by reducing spoilage and buying less packaged food over time. Food types that favor each method. High moisture produce like berries, melons, or tomatoes respond beautifully to freeze-drying because structure and color matter. Dairy and complete meals also make sense if the goal is instant rehydration. Herbs do well with either method, but retain more aroma when freeze-dried. For dehydration, think lean meats for jerky, sturdy fruits like apples, bananas, and mangoes, tomatoes for flakes or leathers, and alliums and peppers for spice blends. Packaging. Freeze-dried foods deserve oxygen barrier packaging with absorbers for long-term stability. Mylar bags and sealed jars are the norms. Dehydrated foods can live happily in jars or quality zipper bags for short to medium terms, or vacuum sealed for longer. Light, oxygen, and heat degrade both, so dark, cool storage is always smart. Costs over time. Upfront, dehydration is the clear bargain. Over time, frequent users who value long storage may justify a freeze dryer, especially if preserving garden or bulk buy surpluses that would otherwise spoil. A hybrid approach is common. Dehydrate snacks and high turnover items, freeze-dry specialty batches, and full meals. Bottom line, choose by outcome. Want food that lasts decades, rehydrates nearly like fresh, and keeps more delicate nutrients? That's freeze drying. Want affordable gear, fast turnaround, and chewy, concentrated snacks that taste great right away? That's dehydration. Many kitchens benefit from both. Dehydration for everyday projects, freeze drying for the long game.